Good afternoon and welcome to the SR 520 Portage Bay Bridge and Roanoke Lit Project's September monthly construction meeting. I do see some familiar folks who joined us for these meetings in the past and also may have joined us at last month's annual open house at Queen City Yacht Club. So welcome back to you folks, and then welcome to the new folks who are joining us for the very first time. My name is Alan Van, and I am the Public Information Manager for the Skanska team. I'll be kicking us off today before we dive into some construction updates for you folks. Next slide, please. During today's meeting, you'll be hearing from myself and Robin Clark, Skanska's community liaison. We also have a couple of other folks from the Skanska and WSDOT teams on the call, so you may be hearing from them as well. We are scheduled to go for approximately an hour, which will include a brief presentation and then a Q&A at the end of the meeting. If we don't have any questions left in our Q&A queue, we'll go ahead and end the meeting early. On the right of this slide, you'll see a couple of resources for you. We have our project email address that you could send your questions to, and then also a link to the Construction Corner, sr520construction.com, where we will be posting a recording of today's meeting in the coming week or so. Also on your screen is a QR code for you to scan to sign up for our weekly email updates, where you'll learn about future meeting times and also get the latest and greatest on construction. Next slide, please. Before I pass it over to Robin, I did just want to go over the agenda for today. So we'll start off by giving a high-level project overview with the project benefits and where we're at with our schedule. Then Robin will dive into our current construction activities with updates on our pile driving, our temporary haul road construction near the Bill Dawson Trail area, some select tree removal updates, and then scheduled road closures. After we go over our current construction activities, we'll give a look ahead for what's upcoming with some traffic effects on local streets and also on and near 520, and then preview some nighttime construction as well. I'll go ahead and wrap us up with information on how to stay informed, and then we'll go through the Q&A. With that, I think I'll go ahead and pass it over to Robin to talk about construction. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Alan. All right, we'll kick it off with some familiar slides with folks who have been here before. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us as always. And please, as Alan noted, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section so we can answer any and all of them towards the end. In the meantime, I will walk you through our agenda and scheduled items here. So to kick it off, a couple of our project benefits on our map here to look forward to towards the end of our project. Our project is scheduled to run through the start of 2031, including building the upgraded overpasses on the Roanoke lid of over SR 520, the two new Portage Bay bridges running east and west, replacing the existing SR 520 bridge, the new Roanoke lid that I just mentioned, including new bike and pedestrian connections that will connect across Portage Bay with the new SR 520 pedestrian and bike trail, and they'll connect on the east end with bike and pedestrian connections to the Montlake area. So a little bit of a dive into our project schedule here. We are in Q3 of 2025. Happy fall. Hopefully you guys have some good activities planned for this upcoming fall. For our construction activities, we are currently in the midst of building out the new westbound bridge. The bulk of that activity includes that last line there that you can see, which is our in-water pile driving season 2. We began that work on September 5th of this year, and I'll get into some of those pile driving updates here in a minute. But those allow us to build out our work access bridges that will then lead into some of the permanent bridge construction for that new westbound Portage Bay Bridge. We're also getting started on our Roanoke lid construction here in the very near future, some of the foundational elements and bringing in material. And then later on, towards 2027, we'll get into landscaping or urban aesthetics, removal of the existing bridge, and finishing out with the new eastbound bridge construction. All right, let's dive into some of the current construction activities that you guys are probably seeing around our project. Kicking it off with the pile driving update, one of our popular topics. So season 2 of in-water impact pile driving, as I mentioned, it started on September 5th of this year. Our in-water impact pile driving typically runs from September 1st through April 30th of the years on our project. And that allows us to impact piles, which you can see in the picture on the screen, those brown cylindrical steel piles that go in the water. That allows us to impact those in the water. During season 2, we will install approximately 80 to 100 of these. In comparison to our first season, we installed a little over 300 of these piles with the impact hammer. So for season 2 in-water impact piles, we'll be installing those 80 to 100 piles in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be this fall, so September through about November. We'll ramp down a little bit through the December, January timeframe, and then we'll ramp back up at the start of the new year in that phase 2 season and finish it out April 30th. And that may flex a little bit, but we'll continue to update you guys in these monthly meetings and our email listservs. So to kind of give you guys a visual of the pile driving map, the green areas that are highlighted on this map are the completed pile driving that we worked on this past season, as well as some of the vibratory pile install that we worked on throughout the summer. For season 2, we're looking at 2 locations, again, in those 2 different phases. We've started in the areas in orange, and actually the box in orange on the far right-hand side of the map. That far right orange area is kind of where we started this year. And now we're moving towards the far left side. So that's where we're going to kind of focus our next pile driving efforts. In season 2, towards the next year, we'll move to the purple sections, again, on the far east side or the far right-hand side of the map. And then kind of those sections in the middle will be ongoing throughout this fall. And just a reminder, again, on some of our impact and vibratory pile driving methods, we do have 2 different methods that we typically use. We have our impact pile driving and our vibratory pile driving. These are 2 different hammer types that we use to install those piles into the ground. The impact pile driving makes a really sharp sound that you guys will hear impacting the piles to get through tougher ground conditions. And then the vibratory pile uses a vibration method to get the piles through a little bit looser soil conditions. And we try to lean on that method more often than the impact method when we can. For the schedule for both of these methods, we're only allowed to do in-water pile driving September 1st through April 30th. But the vibratory pile we do year-round in water and on land. For on-land impact pile driving, we do that year-round, and that will happen, again, on land locations, not in the water. All right, changing to a little bit of a different topic here, some Bill Dawson Trail updates. Earlier this summer, we closed the Bill Dawson Trail for our construction access and other activities to start working on the new Portage Bay bridges. We're continuing to make some progress on those areas, some really good progress. It's pretty exciting to see for us. As you can see in the photo, we've started paving out our Hall Road entrance on the north side of the existing SR 520 bridge that will allow us to access the North Work Bridge alongside SR 520. This will allow us to bring in material, equipment, crews that will be working on the new bridges throughout the duration of construction. Similarly, we're working on the south side to do do that same activity. I'll talk about some of those updates here in a moment. Some of the upcoming work for this area includes installing additional piles and false work for the connection of the North Bridge to that paved area, as well as just importing some of those materials. And you can see a little bit of that same north side just from a different perspective in the photo here. It's a little bit of an older photo because you can't see the pave out quite there, but this is a good photo of what we're working on the south side of SR 520. So on the south side, and something we've talked about in past meetings, is our construction of a new temporary off-ramp to Montlake Boulevard. Right now, we're continuing to build that temporary off-ramp, which is the eastbound SR 520 off-ramp to Montlake Boulevard. That will allow us to shift traffic from the existing eastbound off-ramp onto this new temporary off-ramp, and that allows us more construction work zone to build out the new bridges. So right now we've installed most of the pile for that new temporary off-ramp, and we've cut those piles to the height that we need them for the ramp. So we're working to get prepared for the superstructure or the decking that people will eventually drive on. Later this year, we'll get prepared with our crews to start prepping for a traffic shift. And we expect that at the beginning of next year, in the January timeframe, we'll make that traffic shift from the existing off-ramp to the new off-ramp. And that would include typically a weekend closure of the eastbound SR 520. Another construction activity that we've been working on pretty heavily is select tree removal and vegetation removal. So earlier this fall, we began removing select trees and vegetation kind of in those green areas that you see on the map on the west side of our project. We wrapped up activity on the east side of the project in the areas in gray. And in the future, we are going to be removing more trees in the areas in orange. So we're going to continue selectively removing trees that are in conflict with our construction activities and our permanent work throughout this fall and into next year. A little more detail on those tree removals. So if you guys walk around those areas, you'll see some of these yellow placards or lime green placards that you see in the photo right here. As we continue to kind of refine our details, what we do is we identify the trees that are in conflict with elements of our design. So that could be anything from a retaining wall to a new bridge. It could be the lid or even utilities underground. And what we do is we identify that and we place a placard 30 days in advance of our work for a tree that either needs to be removed or that will be protected. If you guys are out walking around the neighborhood and you see one of these trees with a placard on it, the yellow ones will be showing which trees are going to be removed, and there will be a lime green color for the ones that'll be protected. And we try to maximize as many trees as we can to be protected on the project. So we update what's called a tree and vegetation management and protection plan with all of the trees that may or may not have changed from a previous version of this tree and vegetation management and protection plan. That is a mouthful. With anything that's newly identified for removal. We'll update you guys, the community, and some of our programmatic agreement partners through email. The current CVNPP can also be found online on our SR 520 Construction Corner website. All right, getting into some traffic control. Some closures that we have upcoming in the very near future. We'll talk about some future closures here in a minute. This weekend, we have an East Roanoke Street closure beginning on Saturday and Sunday. We originally had this planned for a full weekend, but we've reduced this down to a Saturday day shift and a Sunday day shift for a longer time window. So we want to emphasize that this will be Saturday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And that'll be located, as you see on the map on the screen, between Harvard Avenue and 10th Avenue. For folks who are headed anywhere around the area this weekend, we recommend following the signed detours that we'll have in place prior to the closure, or following alternate routes that you guys may know from being locals in the area. So the closures we will be working through on Saturday, Sunday. We will be removing, or we will be helping King County Metro to remove overhead trolley wires and putting them underground. This is some of our utility relocation efforts that we've talked about in some of our past monthly meetings. And just a side note, this work will affect the King County Metro Route 49. So please go visit King County Metro's website to learn about where they are detouring their services. Very similarly, the following weekend, 9/27, 9/28 on Saturday and Sunday, we will be closing 10th Avenue East for the same type of work, helping relocate the King County Metro overhead trolley line wires and installing them underground. We'll be closing 10th Avenue East between East Roanoke Street and some of the businesses just south or just north of, I always forget that local street name and I apologize. East Miller Street, I'm so sorry. Yes, between East Roanoke Street and East Miller Street. So the closure hours will be very similar. Saturday, we will be closed from 7 a.m. to midnight. So a bit longer on those closure hours. And then Sunday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Again, this will continue to affect Metro Route 49. If you guys take that route for any reason, please check the King County Metro website. In addition to this closure, we will also be closing the sidewalk, which you can see on the map is slightly highlighted there in a darker color. That sidewalk will be closed long-term to allow us to construct the new temporary overpass for the lid construction. So that sidewalk side will be closed until 2028. There will be a detour, and the west side of that road, the sidewalk will remain open. All right, some future construction traffic effects. So upcoming past these next couple of weekends, we do expect a couple of eastbound SR 520 closures between I-5 and Montlake Boulevard. We will not extend past Montlake Boulevard for those closures. Those closures will be weekend closures from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And we currently have them scheduled from 10 to 10:13 and 10:17 to 10:20, October 10th through 13th and October 17th through 20th. Apologize for the date foobar there. We will be removing sections of concrete barrier on the existing bridge, and this kicks off our process for the temporary off-ramp construction and traffic switches that I mentioned earlier that we'll be working out through the end of the year. We'll have a couple of other activities going on throughout that weekend, so just please keep that in mind as you're planning your routes around the area. Later in October, we're still working out the dates for these closures. We do expect some nighttime closures of Boyer Avenue under the existing 520 overpass between East Roanoke Street and Everett Avenue East. Typical hours will be from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And this will be for us to continue working on some of our utility relocations, specifically our 26 kilovolt relocation. So expect those to be scheduled in the near future. Once we have those dates locked in, we'll update you guys through these monthly meetings and similarly through our email listservs. And one of our last topics for today, nighttime construction. So a couple of upcoming activities for nighttime work. We do have a temporary noise variance that we are looking to implement beginning October 6th. So that will be in place for about 2 weeks from October 6th to October 20th. And that will be in place for a couple different activities across the project. As you guys can see on the map, these are kind of the focus areas that we will be working under. And we'll have several different activities occurring in these different locations, including installing temporary concrete barrier, removing permanent concrete barrier, doing kind of a switch there, removing traffic pavement markings and restriping the road with new pavement markings, and a couple other potentially noisy activities. I do want to emphasize that because this is a temporary noise variance, the folks in these areas that we identify are subject to noise impacts will receive a flyer with a hotel offer. So we will be mailing those out ahead of October 6th. All right. And with that, I will kick it back to you, Alan.
Great. Thank you, Robin. We have about 35 minutes left in our formal meeting time, and looks like we only have one question in the queue. As I go over these next couple of slides, we'll go ahead and wait for some additional questions to pop into the Q&A queue. If there isn't anything that pops up, we'll go ahead and end the meeting early. But with that, I'll go ahead and walk through some of the information on the slide right in front of you. So presented in front of you, you can see several different ways to stay informed with the project or get in contact with us. So we have our 24/7 hotline. Our phone number is 206-319-4520. That is staffed by our outreach team. So feel free to call us at any time regarding any questions regarding construction or about the project in general. We've also mentioned several times throughout the presentation our Construction Corner website, which is sr520construction.com. As Robin mentioned earlier, we have several materials on that site, including the Tree and Vegetation Management Protection Plan, the TVMPP, which you mentioned earlier, and then also our meeting materials and a recording of today's meeting will also be posted on that website as well. We also send out regular email updates through the Rest of the West listserv, so feel free to sign up for that to stay informed about future meetings and also updates on construction, especially related to some of our nighttime construction and some traffic effects on local streets. And then, of course, we will continue to have these monthly meetings. For the foreseeable future. For October, we're still looking at solidifying a date. We'll be announcing a date for that via our listserv and our social media. So make sure that you're following us on those accounts. We may be changing times for these meetings in the future. So make sure that you're following us on social media to be informed of when those dates and times may change. With that, I think next slide, please. We'll go ahead and go through the Q&A. As a reminder, any questions and comments that you submit will be visible to all meeting attendees. If there's anything private that you want to share with us, feel free to give us a call on our hotline or send us an email. With that, I'll go ahead and start with the one and only question that we have in the queue so far, and it is from Carl. It looked like the work bridge does not connect to Boyer Avenue, at least in 2025 or 2026. Is this correct?
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that. So the map that Carl's referring to is our pile driving map there. It does not show the connections, but that is correct. We don't have a date at this time for season 2 to be installing that connection to Boyer Avenue. We do still plan to eventually make that connection, but I don't anticipate it happening during the season 2 timeframe at this time. If that changes and we pull the schedule up for any reason, we'll let you guys know in this meeting. But at this time, that's correct. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Robin. And Carl, if you have any follow-up questions for us, we're happy to respond to those via email or the hotline. With that, that is the only question that we had in the Q&A. I think I'll go ahead and end the meeting early then. You folks can have an extra 32 minutes back in your afternoons. Thank you, everybody, for attending our monthly meeting. As a reminder, we'll be posting today's meeting materials and a recording of today's meeting in about a week on the SR 520 construction website. And with that, we will see you all next month for our October monthly meeting. Be on the lookout for some emails from me in the nearby future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.